Welcome back to the PTSD Princess Podcast. I'm Jerica Rose, your host. I survived homelessness, sexual, and verbal abuse. I'm here to guide you through your healing, growth, and reclaiming your self-love. So let's dive in. Hello, welcome back. Today I have Ellie. She is a mom of two, a housewife, an educator, and a writer. So she's going to introduce herself, and you want to take the floor?
Yes, thank you, Jerica. It's a pleasure. I want to first say I'm grateful for this opportunity to speak with you because I've also have something in line as well that's aligned with you as well, and I'm just very grateful that you and I was aligned as far as like what you're working on and what I'm working on. Because when I noticed when I was signing up for the opportunity to speak with you, it said coffee chat. But what I'm also working on is prayer, coffee, conversation. So I was like, yes. And then when you asked me for this opportunity to speak in your podcast, I was like, yes, immediately. So I want to quickly introduce myself. I'm going to start from I was born and raised in Brooklyn, New York. And I'm raised by two immigrant parents, my mom and my dad. They're from Guatemala, Central America, and they migrated from Guatemala to New York to United States for a better life. So when they started that lifestyle, they was my mom was a caregiver and my dad was a handyman. So and then they had me, they had my brother, and they had my younger sister. But that's between my mom and my dad. But my dad's side, it's all six of us all together because he had two before the marriage. So here we are in Brooklyn, New York, and we're just living a good life. Like literally, like I didn't have no complaints at all. Just a few little double-minded type of situation, but that comes with the territory when you're being raised by immigrants and they have to basically not remove, but they have to get used to a whole new culture shock. So here they are in American culture, and how do you live? How can you keep your culture in a whole different culture that rejects your culture, your unique culture? So here we are living my life, living our lives, our family together, being God centered, and then I come and become 18 years old. So here I am, 18 years old. I'm thinking that everything was good enough for me to go out into the world. And then when I see the world, it looks very, very scary. Very
Yeah,
scary.
yeah. And I
So,
want to let me pause you on
yeah.
that one. Like, I kind of want to piggyback off that too. Like, I had my first son at 20, and I'm like, oh, I got this. You know what I'm saying? I'm out of school. I'm about to go out here work. Girl, no.
At all. At all.
So,
So, it just that your confidence kind of goes down, like really low. So here I am, 18, 19 years old. I get my first job, then I get my first boyfriend, which ends up being my husband. But we went through a whole background of craziness because his upbringing and my upbringing, it was just crazy. And then not knowing that the teachings that I learned from home was more than enough. But when you see when you see the stuff that you see in the world, it looks so big. And then they always trying to shoot you down with your differences. And then how you try to balance your differences, being unique, but then you're telling me I have to be the same. I have to operate based on what you're telling me. So it was very confusing to me. And it took me all the way, and I was raising my kids, my daughter in this until I had my son at 27. And then after that, I end up raising my kids by myself because that's when me and my boyfriend, my now husband, we separated for a while because I just couldn't do it. It was too much. It was to the point that I was really depressed and I just didn't know no direction. So from that, now it's just me and my 2 kids in my mom's house.
Okay.
So
So
and
is
then
that what, like now, or you just kind of, was that kind of before?
no, that was before. This was you could say five. No, my son is now 9 years old. So this was 9 years ago.
That's crazy. My son is 9 too, and you had him at what age?
I was 27 when I had him.
Okay. Ooh, I
Yeah,
had him at
when I had my daughter, I was 21.
Oh, so the daughter was first.
Yes.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
So you could tell based on how like their personality, you could tell the difference of I was way young when I had my daughter, and then with my son, it's like he's just he could just take over the world by himself.
And oh my gosh, you're raising a young king that you don't even know about.
Literally,
You,
I am. And that's when I could tell you, when I had my son and when I noticed that I was raising a black man in America, my whole mindset literally changed because I'm like, I cannot raise my son in this world that we're living in because it's going to be like a complete nightmare. So when I found out I was pregnant with my son, that's when I gave my life to Christ. So my whole perspective just changed and everything was basically stripping off of me. Like everything that I knew of was just slowly stripping off to the point where like now I'm dreaming again. Now I'm over here like all the ugly that was like in my heart, in my mind, like it was just winged away. And then it didn't make it no better because my husband, he was in the streets and everything that comes with the streets. So imagine me living this good life, this narrow path, and he's still like battling with that. So here we are, this single life, single mom life. He's where he's at, and then it was to the point where I broke down in the foyer area of my mom's apartment, and I literally broke down, and I told my kids I can't do this no more, and I crashed out, girl. Like when I tell you crash out, I crashed out. But my kids were very supportive. They cried with me. Like if you say like best friend, like your kids are literally your best friend.
yeah, literally, like
They
oh,
like they
they broke.
understand. Like they
Mm-hmm.
understand. Even though they're like little people, they're literally little people. You
Yeah, and yeah, because I cried day. Like I used to hold back. Like I was so scared to cry in front of my kids, but it's like they have to see that side too. You
they
know?
have to.
Yeah,
They
yeah.
have to. So when I broke down, here I am. I started praying. Then I asked God what to do. He was like, that was a time where I didn't know that my husband then was in Virginia. I
Oh,
didn't I didn't know he was in Virginia. So it worked out. He was like, call him. And then me, the human side of us, we just start thinking, oh, he don't like me like that. What if he says no? And then so here I am. I called their dad, and he was like, oh, it was around Thanksgiving. It's like this month, 8 years ago, right? Yeah. So I called him. I asked him what you're doing for the holidays. He was like, I'm not sure. And I was like, would you be able to take the kids for the holiday? So he took the kids. Long story short, he ended up taking the kids for the Thanksgiving holiday, and then I spent my Thanksgiving with my pastor then in my local church that back in Brooklyn. So and then I absolutely didn't know that I was gonna take a bus ticket to Atlanta, but I ended up doing that because I just, I felt, when you feel like something different is about to happen, you just don't know.
yeah.
So I took a nap, I don't know what I was watching, but I was watching TV after spending Thanksgiving with my pastor. I came home, I took a nap, I woke up to God's voice. And with God's voice telling me it's time to go, I was like, so, you know me, the naive part of me is like, where we're going.
I
So I'm
meditate on
thinking,
this. Hold on.
like, I just woke up from my nap. So, hello. And then you hear a voice. I was like, so where we're going? And he said, wherever you go, I'll be there. So and then the first thing that I circled, it was two states actually. It was Atlanta and Florida. But the first thing I circled was Atlanta. So I was like, oh, well, I guess we're going to Atlanta. So I packed my bag and I end up going. I didn't say nothing to nobody yet. Because you know when you about to do that move,
Yeah,
there's a
they'll
whole lot of discouragement coming along. So I waited until I touched down in Atlanta, and that ride was a 12-hour bus ride, and I don't remember all of it. I think I
Mhm.
slept through most of it. So I ended up in Atlanta, and then it was a journey. Like it was a journey, and I have a blog with that too, like
nice,
discussing my journey. And
nice.
then yeah. So flash
So you're
forward.
so we can, put in the show notes for these people. I want to
Yes,
promote.
I have to. I have to. So here I flash forward to like 2 weeks, right? I end up in the shelter in Forest Park, and I stood in the shelter for like 3 weeks. I met two guys that was really like they were man of God, and they helped me through my journey until I got my feet solid on a solid ground. So and then they helped me out. That was a journey also. And then it was to the point where now we're fast forwarding to, because I lost my first apartment. That was a trip. And then I ended up moving to the West End. And from the West End, I lived under a Muslim woman. Yeah. So imagine the two different walks of life, walk of belief in the same house. And
Together.
yes, but it actually, surprisingly, it worked out. It did work out. And then from there, and it was a good experience too, because I never understood the Muslim belief.
Yeah.
It's very different. Like it's extremely different, but I never got into it because like you just never feel the presence of God. Like you don't feel that presence. So that's why I never like really was into that. But anywho,
Hey, at least you're honest.
literally, because I'm like, what is this about? Why is like so much of our people go into the Islam belief? So I was like, okay, let me try this out. Even though I was already solid in Jesus is Lord and in my heart, and that's it. But I wanted to branch out because I just didn't want to be so what's the word? Like too dogmatic, if
Yeah.
you want to say the least.
Yeah,
So
like small-minded,
yeah, I wanted to branch myself. So, when it comes to living under that roof, that belief walk of faith, it was very different. She was very respectful towards my belief. Like I was blasting the gospel music. I was just like listening to my sermons, and I was just healing, just minding my business, being happy in the Lord. So
Yeah.
it was great. And then, flash forward after that, that's when God spoke to me again and said, go where your heart desire. And during that
I'm,
time,
I heard that.
I was like, my heart desire. And then me again, so naive of me. Like, so what my heart desire?
Right. Not trusting yourself.
Again, I'm doing it. I'm like, oh gosh. And then I'm like, okay, so I started thinking back, and he showed me my family in Virginia, my kids, and then my husband, right? So I was like, okay, so I guess we're making this move again, right? So and then I started giving out. I gave away everything from my apartment, and all I had was a suitcase, and I just packed what I needed. And then I took one-way ticket to Virginia, and then from there, I spent a time of like 2 weeks in Virginia with my kids. I was so happy. And then at that time, my husband and I was still like separate. Like we were still thinking very differently. We was at odds.
Want it
So
better for you.
then, yes, exactly. So it was just so. Long story short, me and the kids end up going back to New York. We ended back in New York. We stood there for like a few months, and from there, my local church from Brooklyn paid from our one-way ticket back to Atlanta, and then
Mm.
and then from Atlanta, that's when we started our fresh slate with me and my kids. And then it was a journey from there too. We bounced from my brother in Christ from his home, and then he had his living arrangement that was destroyed from under him. Then we had to go to a shelter, and then from a shelter we went to a group home. I'm not group home, a rooming house. Then from a rooming house, we actually we lived in a basement apartment of one of my church member from Atlanta. And then from there we got kicked out from there, and we ended up living in the church. Then
How
we
you write a book?
girl. And then we was
Write a book.
yeah,
Like, oh,
I know. So we lived in the church for a couple months, and from there, that's when I let go my job as a caregiver and pursued my dream as a teacher. So we was living in the church with my two kids, pursuing my being a teacher, and that was a time also. Nobody did not know I was living in the church. So and then
so that
2
was
months,
the silent
yeah,
battle.
exactly. So 2 months after that, my husband pulled up from Virginia. He drove from Virginia to Atlanta, and then he wasn't allowed to stay in the church with us because it's a church. So that would have broke the contract between me, the pastor, and the first lady. So he was living the way he was in a hotel. He has his own story, but from my side, it was we got kicked out from the church too because there was a lot of conflict of interest. So we got bumped out from the church, and then from the church we were staying in Lithonia in one of my spiritual mom's house for like a week. And then all of this traveling we was doing, we was traveling from Lithonia to College Park. If you ever been to Atlanta, that's about like a 40-minute drive.
Yeah, I was born there, but I moved at a young age. So I'm only familiar with like Marietta, Peachtree, Cobb County.
Okay, so you're North Atlanta. Okay,
Yeah.
so if you ever seen a notice in the map, it's from Lithonia all the way to College Park. That's how we was traveling every day for a good 2 weeks. It was until the breach of contract was being affected from my spiritual mom. So we had to get bumped out. And she didn't really bump us out, but she did place us in a hotel. So after we came from church, she dropped us off in the hotel in Forest Park, and then that was it from there. We stood in the hotel for a good nine months. It was 11 months. And then from there, that's when my husband followed us, and he got himself a room there, but he lived on the floor below us. So that was very convenient for us. And
Yeah.
then and then from there, that's when God slowly started like working in our hearts, and he slowly started putting us together to the point where now he got let go from his previous job in the airport, and now he's asking me for help. So he doesn't like he wasn't feeling me at the time, and then I wasn't feeling him at the time. But some way, somehow, God, you know how God do what He do.
My turn. boyfriend through trauma bonding. So it's like I didn't really mess with you like that at first, but we grew together.
Yeah,
So yeah,
exactly. So that's what happened. And I extended myself. He ended up staying in the same room, but at the time he was sleeping in the same bed with our son, and I was staying in one bed because it was a two bed room. So he had one bed with my son, I had one bed with my daughter. So we was rocking out. At the end of the day, I'm still single. So, and I didn't mind, like, okay, him live his life, I live my life, and we
right.
just work together. No, he didn't. He wasn't feeling it. Neither was God. So,
You know how they do, right?
so here we are. God, he got in. He out here. And then, slowly but surely, that's when my husband and I he asked for a fair chance. And I was like, I gotta pray about it. And it so happened that he asked for a fair chance on it was a Saturday. And then that Sunday I went to church. I came back, I got a good word, and it had me in tears that the pastor opened the altar. And I went up in the altar, I cried, and then I came home, and then that's when everything was just happening so fast to the point where now I actually extended mercy to my husband to give him a fair chance in working this relationship out. So, and then fast forward from there, we started working on our relationship. We started stripping away like certain traumas that he was going through with the separation, and what he learned, what I learned. And then from there, we got married, and then we worked together to get our apartment that we're living in now. And then
So
that
did y'all do a courthouse thing, or you guys had like a big old ceremony?
no, just the courthouse for right
Oh,
now. That's what
yeah,
we did. Yeah, because I just wasn't feeling the fact that I was going to go another couple years without being married to him, and then I already have history with him. So I was
yeah,
like, no, let's start this new thing fresh. We're
that
not
makes
going to allow we're not going to allow the devil to take hold of our covenant. So, I was just, we got to do this thing.
yeah,
So,
that's powerful. Ooh, you're a strong woman. I can tell you that because I've been to the shelter I was in there for 5 months, but it's like the stuff you were saying after that, I'm like, that's nothing compared to stuff I was doing. So you are a soldier. Like I shout out to you, girl, for real, for
thank
real. So that was I'm glad you shared your story. That was beautiful. I want to keep it short and spicy for the people. So,
yes.
what is a tip or tool you want to share or with the audience?
Well, the tipping tools I want to share with everyone, with the audience, is keep God first, for real. Be honest with Him, and everything will come to you. Like literally, it will come to you. So keep God first no matter what. Even if it looks ugly, even if it feels ugly, even if it tastes ugly, touch ugly, any ugliness, go through it and always remain God first over everything.
I love that. I should have called you last night because I was crying last night, but I'm okay now.
Aw, what happened?
Because I just feel like, me and my boyfriend, we had a little altercation, but it's like I'm so sensitive. I'm learning not how to like express my feelings, but not be so over dramatic. And it's just like sometimes we just don't, we clash. So, when it comes to that, I just, I do the journaling thing. So, yeah, that God first is, whoo, it's definitely a must because the first I did was I went straight to that toilet. I sat there. I was crying, but I was speaking.
Yes, that bathroom becomes your best friend after a while.
Right. So where can people find you?
Where you can find me, you can find me in all the platforms except Twitter. You can find me on Facebook. You can find me on Instagram. It's at Gotti Writes, GARIWRITES, and you can find me on TikTok under at the Golden Family.
All right. Nice. So we're going to link all that in the show notes. And
my blog is called Woman Mom Single. I have a number of newsletter, and you could type up www.embracingwomanmomsingle.blogspot.com.
all right. I hope you guys heard that loud and clear. I'm going to link that for you guys. Go ahead, follow her, give her some love, check out her website. And thank you for tuning into this episode.
Thank you for having me.